All right. So now we're into year 2 of Dee Ford. He didn't play much last year. He's not going to play much this year. They traded a second-round pick for him, gave him a big deal, but they went to the Super Bowl last year, and he played in that game. So was that trade? Did they lose that trade, or was it worth it given what happened last year? Who wants to go first?
I'll go ahead and start. Yeah, Absolutely, you lost that trade because not only did you give up a second-round pick, you had to pay Dee Ford, and his contract. If we want to erase that, Buckner would still be a 49er. And then you could have had 4 years of service with guys like Jeremy Chin, Zach Bond, Matt Hennessy. If you went and drafted Matt Hennessy, then you wouldn't have Tom Compton on this team, so it solves that issue.
Love Tom Compton.
And so
I love how Tom Compton is inactive every freaking week. That's so funny to me. Keep going.
Exactly. And Matt Hennessy has played well so far for Atlanta. So there's other guys you could have had. Yeah.
Good name.
The Bay Area would have loved him.
Yeah.
But
Seriously.
you had those names that I just said on 4-year deals, cheap deals, rookie deals, and you would still have Buckner on your team. So even though he was effective last year for the 49ers, Dee Ford, that was a big picture. It's absolutely an L, especially since they did not win the Super Bowl, and that's the main thing on this.
Leo's fired up today. Jose,
let's go.
It's because his internet's working. That's why. That's why it's fired up. But no, it's 100% a loss. And for exact same points Leo pointed out, that's what I wrote down. But I think it was a trade that, it was kind of worth it in a way because that pass rush in 2018 was god awful. Like, I swear it was like it's kind of funny how the two Bay Area teams at the time had the worst pass rush in the league. You had the Raiders that had like 13 sacks, and the 49ers weren't too far off either. And it was just like, God, where's it? It was like DeForest Buckner and a bunch of scrapyard junk you got right there.
Dare you classify Cassius Marsh that way? Okay,
Cassius who? Cassius, what's he doing now? But anyways, yeah. So I kind of and considering how Kyle Shanahan loves that unit, he says it. That's the number one unit you need to build and stack from. That's why they always draft defensive linemen every year in the first round. So in that sense, like, I get it. It was a trade out of desperation, and that desperation allowed them to had them overlook. Hey, why are the Chiefs not re-signing him? Why do they want to trade him to you? Do you not realize his injury history? What else do they know about his injury history that you don't know? But, like I said, that desperation, because it was like, we don't have many options. We need to inject some effectiveness into this pass rush. And it worked when he was healthy. It was good for that year. Had they won that Super Bowl, I think we would be saying yes, like Leo said. Yeah. But I think another thing that maybe shouldn't get overlooked is it was a little bit worth it to get Nick Bosa a little benefit from Ford out there, because that's why he scored almost all of his sacks with Ford on the field. I mean, not to say Bosa probably wouldn't still have been successful, but at least with Ford there, they weren't having to at least 100% focus every game on Bosa until it turns out, all right, this guy is a beast. We need to throw the spikes, throw the speed bumps, throw whatever. So it's a loss, but I think it's something at least like, hey, they swung for the fences in a way a little bit.
Jack.
It was a short-term win, but a long-term loss. They got what they needed. At that point, they didn't know that they were going to be able to get Bosa at the number 2 pick when free agency hit. Sure. They needed to get a defensive end. They got lucky with that whole deal working out the way that it did. And so last year, we don't know if they make the Super Bowl without him. He had some big plays early in the year. Yeah. He played well in the playoffs. Long term, you're losing out on somebody that could have been with your team for another 5 years possibly.
Yeah. Look, in a vacuum, it's a god-awful trade. I mean, you traded a second-round pick and gave him that deal, and you got 300 snaps. I mean, it couldn't have been worse. But put some context here. Remember where the Niners were at as an organization going into last season. In my opinion, they were all on the hot seat. You may disagree. They had 6-year deals, but historically, you don't get to start a tenure missing the playoffs 3 years in a row.
Yep.
Any coach, GM that misses the playoffs 3 years in a row, historically, there's some exceptions, get fired. And I think the Niners knew that. I think there was some urgency heading into last year, and they knew we got to at least make the playoffs. So what the Niners did was go all in. They pushed all their chips in the middle and made sure no one was getting fired. And I get that. So because it's like, if you hold on to that cap space and you don't make the playoffs, then you just set up your successors, the people who are going to replace you. So to me, it's like, look, we got to make sure we make the playoffs. Let's bring in Dee Ford. We know that the Chiefs don't really trust him for whatever reason, but The Chiefs, Andy Reid, he has job security. We don't. Let's make the playoffs and live to play another season. It worked. So if I were Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh, I would have done the same thing because I don't want to get fired and give the next guy cap space. Screw the next guy. My job. So that's the way I looked at it. It was a necessary thing to do.
And plus, they knew they were going to get Nick Bosa because everyone knew Kyler Murray was going to the Cardinals. So it's like, hey, but we know Buckner's raw. All we got to do is try to get Armstead. That's why you bring Kaczmarek in. And then if we got Bosa in 4, then it's like, cool, we'll be straight. That'll be very, very straight for us to have finally an effective pass rush. And so they can stop, so they can reduce the amount of defensive snaps that are out there.
We're done. Real quick, though, we're going to be doing this again tomorrow every week. And people are saying that I should be streaming on Twitch. I don't know. I stream on Periscope, on Twitter, on Facebook. If you like Twitch, I'll do Twitch. So let me know. Tweet at me, email me, call me. Don't call me. But just let me know if Twitch is something you guys are interested in because we're trying to get ourselves out there to everyone because people need to hear what we're saying about the 49ers because it's brilliant. Guys, this was the best All 49ers Round Table in the history of All 49ers Round Tables. Thank you so much for your work today and everyone who watched.